Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Avery, but I go by Soavecito, and I'm a horror content creator. Welcome to episode 39 of Whispers of Horror, and I have an awesome guest and one of my closest friends, Vincent. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Avery. Thanks for having me.
It's Suavecito. No, I'm just kidding. um, you are creating a awesome game called Heartworm, and I'm really excited to talk about it. I actually was one of the first people to play it, like 3 years ago, and it's definitely revamped. So I'm looking forward to playing it today, with you and asking you a bunch of questions about it.
Yeah, you played a real early demo
Mm-hmm.
before I even showed it to anybody at this convention. But yeah, now we have a new demo that's going to be up on the Monday, the 14th, for Steam's Next Fest. So
All right, I'm looking. I can't wait for this game to come out. So let's just get into it. So what is the, why? What made you come up with the name Heartworm, and what's the reason behind it?
that's kind of that's kind of a tough one. It's a little bit of a secret, and
Okay.
it kind of spoils some of the game. So
Sure, sure, sure.
we'll save that one for after the game comes out. We can talk about it. But
Damn. Okay.
um,
So secret. Okay. Bet.
yeah,
Tell me off
yeah.
stream. You can tell me off stream.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So what is this game inspired by? Like, is there any influences that you've taken from different literature or games or horror movies that made you make Heartworm?
Yeah, I mean, it's a survival horror game, so
Mm-hmm.
obviously, game-wise, the influences are pretty pretty clear. It's Resident Evil, Silent Hill, a lot of all the old school stuff. But yeah, I mean, I didn't want to just like straight rip those, so I wanted to put my own twist on it, and I just took inspiration from a lot of the stuff that I like. Um, a lot of the scenes are kind of inspired by photography that I like. This photographer named Gregory Crudson, he does like some real like surreal photography, and it all takes place in suburbia, and that's like I knew that's the environment that I wanted to be in, so like that was a big one, and then just like you know um, like old stuff like Are You Afraid of the Dark and like Goosebumps and
Ooh, one of my favorite
that
books.
yeah, all that. I'm just like everything I've liked, I'm trying to like compile into this game. So
Sure, sure. Excuse me. Before we get a little more into the game, I want to get to know you a little bit more. I mean, obviously, we go way back, so
yeah,
this is
yeah.
not as hard of an interview, since we have history. But what I want to know is, when did you start getting to game development, and like, what inspired you to be a game developer?
Yeah. So it's always something like I always wanted to do this. But I was whatever like working other jobs, and uh, it never really felt like something I could actually do as like my primary thing.
Hmm.
So I kind of just put it to the side for a long time. But I mean, like even like 10 years ago, I would like mess around with like Unreal, like UDK it was called at the time. Like
Hmm.
I was messing around with that. But um, for a long time, I thought that like you had to make like a really like high fidelity looking game to make a game.
Hmm.
Um, and then I played a puppet combo game. I played Babysitter Bloodbath,
Sure.
and I was like, oh, like people seem to really like this stuff, and it's not like AAA quality or whatever. Like it doesn't look like it's not realistic, and uh, so I was like, oh, maybe I can do this. And then yeah, 2019, I was working my other job. I was a web developer,
Hmm.
but on the side, I just started messing around in Unity, and uh, yeah, and I just was like, I want to make this kind of game, and I just started doing it. So
Sure, sure. Um, when it comes to this game, like, Damn, it's just very exciting. How many years have you been in development of this?
Yeah, so it's been I started late 2019, so it's been almost 5 years, I guess, at this point.
Okay, okay.
Um,
When it comes to when you're not making a game, like what are some of the things that you do on your spare when you have spare time? Like what are some of the hobbies that you find interesting?
as
Touching
you
grass.
know, I'm 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 a big Magic the Gathering fan.
Yeah, I was
Play a lot of
waiting
Magic.
for it. Let's
Yeah.
go. I was totally waiting for to hear the words Magic the Gathering.
Oh, it's blurred. They don't want you to see what this is.
Oh,
That's
oh, oh, oh. Listen, listen. I totally get it. How long have you been playing Magic the Gathering?
Oh man. Yeah, like since 20. I mean, I played when I was in high school, but I didn't know what I was doing. Like I was. Uh, but like after that, I think 2013, like Return to Ravnica was the set that I came back to.
Sure.
So that's when I was like, oh, this game is way different than I thought it was, and now it's like, it's one of the only games that I want to think about when I'm
Yeah,
not thinking about my game.
it's kind of
So
how I met you through Magic the Gathering, which I unfortunately still play, but it definitely sinks time into your or and your wallet.
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
but so my other questions for you is when it comes to when you're working on your game and balancing your personal life, like how do you find it like equal balance for that, or do you find that at times that you struggle with finding time for your game but finding time for your family and friends? How's that balance like, and then how do you overcome when one is being more than the other?
Yeah, I mean it's a good question. It's hard too, especially like stuff like this. Like any, I think, creative or like extracurricular thing, like it can take up a lot of your time. And honestly, I'm not that great at it. I kind
Mm-hmm.
of just like or not great at balancing, I guess I should say. Yeah, I feel like I just kind of go all in on stuff when I'm like into it. So that's how I do it. It probably isn't the healthiest way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I that's just how I do things. So that's how I'm gonna roll
Sure.
with it.
Sure. W- if you had a plan, say you have goals in 5 years. What are some of your goals that you would like to accomplish in 5 years, and what are some of the goals that you would like to accomplish now?
Well, definitely, in the short term, I want to finish Heartworm, which is going to happen. It's
Mm-hmm.
quarter one 2025 is the target release date, and we're on target for that. So that's like the big milestone. I've been working on it for 5 years, so it'll be really nice to be able to say that I finished it. Um, and then, I mean, years from now, like I definitely want to make another game after this. Um, I it kind of it's I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. Like I don't know if it's going to be another survival horror game
Mm-hmm.
or if I'm going to go in a totally different direction or I don't know. I have some prototypes but I haven't figured it out. But I know for certain that I want to I definitely want to play or I want it to play like something that I enjoy. So it'll definitely be in that range. I haven't figured out exactly what yet.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say, I don't know why, but I've interviewed 38 people, and knowing that me and Vinny are close friends is just different. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little off my game because I'm nervous. I don't know why. So I closed the questions I had, and I said, you know what? I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna read the questions I have written. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna just feel the flow, and I want to just like have an authentic conversation with a good buddy of mine that we play Magic and do all this stuff. So I'm going off script, which I do a lot when I do this podcast. But what I really want to get into is like, what made you get into horror games? Like, why horror games when you could design or game develop any game you can think of?
Yeah, I don't really know if there's like I don't know if I have a great answer, but I just always I feel like I always resonated with horror.
Sure.
just in general, like movies, games, like all that stuff. Like anything horror, I was really into it. Um, and I mean, when I was a kid, I played Resident Evil 1. I was probably like, I don't know, like 10 when I played it. I should not have played it, and like it totally messed me up because I was terrified. But like, even though I was terrified, I still like I kept wanting to like go back to it, and
Sure.
I think I just kept chasing that, like stuff that makes me feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
I just want more and more and more of it. So
No, I totally
that's
get that. This is one of my favorite questions to ask all of my guests on Whispers of Horror, and for some reason this question always gives me goosebumps, which I don't understand why. It's just maybe I'm just really into this question. Maybe it's just like
Mhm.
the thing I could always want in my life because I'm curious of just knowing other people's perspective. So
Mhm.
my question is, what is your definition of horror in your own words, or another way of phrasing that question is like, what is your perspective when you hear
Hmm.
the word horror? I know, great question.
It is a great question. Yeah, that's tough.
Like, don't like not outside. Like, what is your like
Yeah,
eye
yeah,
when you do think of horror?
yeah. Yeah, I feel like I've thought about this a lot because sometimes I'm like, is my game even a horror game? Because like, I personally like for me, it's like if I'm like true horror to me is when weeks, months, or years down the line, like I'm still thinking about something,
Mm-hmm.
and it still scares me. Like it's the stuff that it's like when an idea is so terrifying to you that it like it and it doesn't have to be, like this the shock stuff goes away quickly, but
Sure.
like it's the real stuff that like sticks with you, and that's like true horror to me, I
Like
guess.
fears.
Yeah, yeah, like the deep stuff, like,
Sure. Now I'm gonna
yeah, I
ask.
think.
I have to pry because this is a horror podcast, and would it be horror if I didn't ask these questions? Do you
Mhm.
have fears, and what are some of your
Oh.
fears?
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean,
Oh, you want me? Listen, I'll go first. I have no
yeah, yeah,
problem.
I'd love to know
Yeah,
yours.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have no. So my biggest fear is well, I have two fears. My biggest fear is the fear of open water, like being
Mm.
in the ocean.
Mm.
Like imagine being in the ocean at the middle of the night. You don't know your sense of direction. You don't know what's under you, and the fact that at some point you're gonna lose energy, and
Yep.
that leads to drowning, which is
Yeah.
terrifying, or being succumbed by different animals that are creatures, and then the fact that we haven't explored our ocean and we
Mm.
explored space more scares me because I don't know what there could be megalodons, Loch Ness monsters. There could be
Yeah.
fucking Santa Claus down there. Who knows? Who knows? Just saying. Just excuse my
Yeah.
language, but you feel me. Like there could be some crazy stuff down there. My second biggest fear is the fear of silence.
Mm.
I have so many thoughts that go through my head, and I feel like if I lost my hearing, the voices become louder. Hence why this podcast is called Whispers of Horror. It's one of my
Mm.
biggest fears, just knowing that it's like when somebody's not talking to me, then or ignoring me, it's just that my mind starts to paint its own pictures of why is this person ignoring me? Why can't I not hear them? What are they thinking? Like I start to overthink, and the voices start to
Yeah.
get louder. So just being in complete silence or just being, I'm scared to be deaf. I
Hmm.
don't think I could handle not being able to hear the sounds or things around me. It's just something that I have goosebumps right now because it literally scares me, man.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty it's a pretty terrifying concept. Yeah.
Hundred
Like,
percent. Now your turn, Vinny. I'm gonna call you Vinny because I always call you
yeah.
Vinny. I literally got your number under my phone. Oh, it's Vinny.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool. That's yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I guess like without getting like far and away my biggest fear is dying. Just like
Sure.
the concept of dying just in general, like I I don't like 100% have it nailed down why I'm afraid. I mean, aside from just like everybody is kind of afraid of that, but like
Nope,
I don't
not
know,
me.
there's just like there's stuff I want to do,
Yeah.
and it scares me to think that I will not be able to do everything that I want to do in my life.
Yeah. Is it because of the concept behind it? Like, what is dying to you? Now we're getting real deep. We talk.
Yeah,
We supposed to talk about your
the
game,
games. Yeah.
but this
I
all
mean,
stems to your psychological mindset when building this. Like
mm,
it plays everything I bring up plays a factor into why you designed your game. So like I like
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I forgot the question, but you remember.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, well, I mean, it's just like first of all, like yeah, the
What is dying
game,
to you? Like what do you
yeah,
think happens?
yeah. And I mean, it is super relevant because the game like Heartworm is about this, like almost
Yeah.
specifically about this, like about
You see what I
dealing
did
with
there?
the
I got
concept of
no
death.
questions
Yeah,
written down.
yeah. But we're flowing. We're going right into
I'm
it.
telling you, this is
Um,
so much better than reading off a piece of paper. Just like, why did you make Heartworm? No. We're not doing that. This is
yeah,
authentic, and I like this because it's a genuine conversation, and with two people who are passionate about the same space as which is in horror. And you could tell the
absolutely.
energies just changed. It only took like 10 minutes. Stop playing.
That's I mean, it takes time, but
Yeah.
we got there. So it's
100%. You gotta get into the flow of things. But no, I
yeah.
really want to know like what is your concept of death? Like what do you think happens when the lights go out?
Yeah, I mean that's I don't know. Like
Mm-hmm.
obviously, obviously no one knows, but and it's
Sure.
and some people believe pretty strongly in that things might go one way or another.
Sure. But what
But it
I don't care what other people think. I want to know what you believe. Because at the
yeah,
end of the day, this is like everybody has their own perspectives, but your mindset is different from other people's. And if again, if I'm prying too much, feel free just to say Avery or text me low key under the table, but like yo, chill.
yeah. No, we're good. I'm an open book. We can talk about anything.
Don't say that. You got to be careful with
No.
that.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous route
Uh,
that you might not want to go down, my friend. Ask me anything. We can get deep.
yeah.
Don't open that rabbit hole.
All right, all right, all right. We'll put some limits somewhere.
Yeah. What
That's
do you want our safe word to be?
I'll text you it.
I,
Yeah.
I I feel you on that.
Yeah. Um yeah, I mean I don't know. I don't really know what I think happens. It's like, I mean, I grew up like a little religious, like my family was religious,
Sure.
but I never really like resonated with that. It wasn't really something that I just didn't feel strongly. I'd love to be able to feel strongly because
Sure.
it must be so like comforting to be like, I know exactly what's gonna happen. I believe that this is gonna happen, and that's awesome. Like
Mm-hmm.
for people who believe that, like I just have such a hard time,
Sure.
because I just need like everything around us that we know, we like accept that it exists because we have evidence of it. Like we
Sure.
can touch stuff and we can hear and we can see and whatever. But when you're like trying to think about this thing that happens that no one has any idea conceptually, or like like what it actually is, like
Mm-hmm.
that is terrifying to me. So I don't know. I don't know what happens, and that is really like what the scary part of all of it is to
Yeah.
me. So
I guess I see it as before we were even born, we ceased to exist, or not, or we didn't know we existed, right?
mhm,
Like, so all that time has passed, millenniums and eons,
mhm,
and I feel like we are here. When we're here, we're noticing that we are here, and then
mhm,
we just go back to that stage. We didn't have any feelings or thoughts or anything when it came to before we were born. And I honestly, I compare it to video games. I know,
yeah,
like, once that last minute happens, it is the final stage. It's when I can
right,
finally rest. It's eternal
mhm,
rest where I have nothing to worry about. No pain, no sickness, no
mhm,
tiredness, no anger, no feelings. Just that's it.
yeah,
Complete peace. I have
yeah,
nothing to worry about, you know? That terrifies people. I get it. Like the fear of the unknown, basically what you're saying, which I concept is the fear of the unknown. Not
mhm,
knowing what happens next is a big fear, because our minds are the most powerful thing that our body has. And it can do so many things. It can make images appear that don't exist. It can make you see things that like I said, don't exist, but can hear things that are playing back in your head. The fact that we can have dreams is something crazy that is honestly is another reason is unexplained too. Like
Mm.
you can't control these things, but some things, some memories or some smells or some things around you trigger these dreams, these lucid dreams, to make you see certain imagery, which make it feel so real. So
Hmm.
who's to know? But that's
Yep.
just a little deep diving into like this concept of like just like, and then like I said, it's all full circle because it goes back to Heartworm. So let me ask you: does that any of those like you kind of to mention it? Like you said, some of the fears that you have are translated into this game. Like, can you elaborate a little bit more, or is that to see when the
Yeah.
game comes out?
No, totally. Yeah, like, uh, I guess I mean, because I didn't even really give the rundown, but like the brief synopsis, just for people who don't know already, like,
Sure.
what
Actually, so
Heartworm is about. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt you. What I'm gonna do is
Okay.
I'm gonna actually switch the scene so people can
Okay.
actually start like see the name of the game. They can see the intro cutscene for it, and then we'll go from there. And then you can answer that question. I do apologize for interrupting you.
No, you're good. Yeah,
All right, so I'm gonna just so this is the cover. You can't see it, Vinny,
I can't.
but
No.
but if you
I'll
go
take
to
your word for it.
if you go to the YouTube, you can see it. You feel me?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got it
Um,
open. Here, let me.
yeah, yeah. So basically, okay. So continue. So my bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Heartworm is, yeah, it's about this girl who um has lost some people close to her, and she is having a hard time dealing with that, not knowing, what happened to them, or not being able to accept that they're gone, and kind of trying to figure out how to come to terms with this. Um, so she reads about a house that has some means supposedly of connecting you to the dead,
Mm,
and she decides to go there and check it out. But there's the beyond getting there. She doesn't know anything about it. She doesn't know what's going to happen. So, and that's kind of where we find her in the story, and where things start to go off. But yeah, I mean, ultimately the idea is that this game is about someone who can't accept um can't find peace, I guess.
mm-hmm.
Like, as you said, in
Death.
death. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. I totally get that. What are some of the things? So you've been in development for 3 years. As I told you, like I played the game at the really early stages, and
Yeah.
seeing it now for the first time in a long time. There has been so many improvements. Can you elaborate on some of the things that the game has been improved on? Either voice or sound or just visually, which obviously that what we see in front of us.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I mean, a lot of things have changed since then. Back when you played it, I was the only person who was working on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had done everything up until that point. But past that point, I picked up a publisher, or publisher picked up me, I guess. And that gave us some budget to work with. So I got to hire on a couple people. So I have a small team. There's about five of us, and they're helping me kind of with all aspects of it. So,
Sure.
like code and animations and models and textures, it's all improved now, because these people who are uh, more expert at these things are the ones that are spearheading them, with my direction. But yeah,
Sure.
so yeah, everything's basically on an upgrade. And yeah, like so this cutscene right now, this is I wanted to do for the intro and for the endings of the
Mm-hmm.
game. I wanted to do like pre-rendered cutscenes like you
Sure.
used to have in the old school games. So Eve is our animator, and he put this cutscene together. I did the music for it. And yeah, and it's just like now I can collaborate with some people and kind of like help bring my vision to life a little bit more full, I think. So,
Yeah, 100%. Vinny, what I'm gonna do for you is I'm actually gonna share my screen just give me
Okay,
a second, ladies and gentlemen, so you can actually see the game in real time, and I will just
that's
edit
perfect.
you
Yeah.
out on the podcast so people can see you. Because when I'm asking you these questions, I want to make sure that you have real time what's happening on the screen.
Totally.
So I want to ask, like, so what is, while I'm doing this in the background, what is the impression that you want people to have when they play Heartworm for the first time?
Um, you know, yeah, I guess I just like I think the strongest part of Heartworm in my mind is the atmosphere. So I hope that they just like feel um yeah, I don't know, like I hope they enjoy like the mystery of like exploring and like trying to figure out their way through this place while enjoying the atmosphere. That's and I hope it feels like reminiscent of those old like
Sure.
classics. Obviously, like we're only 5 people, like, and we're not gonna, it's not gonna be Silent Hill. Like
Get that?
that's so far away from where we are. But I hope that it at least like evokes some of the feelings that those games evoke.
I get that. And I remember you, when you first started making this game, you were doing this by yourself, and now you have a team behind you. How is it? I'm going to get into the demo, by the way, but how
Okay.
is it working the game, like being a solo dev, working on a game versus having a team um, to help you make this process? Can you tell me the differences, like some of the strengths with it and some of the, I wouldn't say cons, but some of the adversities you guys have while working together?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, both ways of going about it definitely have their pros and cons, or their challenges, I would say.
Sure.
But uh, I'd say I really enjoy just like having people to bounce ideas off of. I think that's a huge bonus.
Sure.
And now like a lot of stuff that's in the game is the product of like collaboration, which I think is really helpful. When I'm by myself, or when I was by myself, it's like everything I do, I have to like I don't have anyone to ask. Like, do you think this is good? Do you think we should change this? Like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just like it's really nice to have people to work with, to collaborate with. I think if I could, I would always work with people in the future. Solo is cool, but it's nice to have a team.
Yeah, I totally get that. As you saw in the you're current with the stream, right? You can see where
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, I could
at.
see.
Okay, perfect. So in the menu, you had the options to choose between tank controls and modern, and like the pixelated versus the modern version. Can you elaborate why you made those decisions between those both versions, and what purposes that the tank brings, and what purposes does the modern bring, and why
Yeah,
did you decide to put both of them in the game?
yeah. So the game, again, because it's inspired by like the classic survival horror games, it uses fixed camera angles.
Sure.
So, in my opinion, tank controls work really well for that because you're switching from different perspectives a bunch,
Sure.
and I grew up that way, and I like to use them in games that use fixed cameras. It just feels natural to me.
Sure.
Um, a lot of people who didn't grow up with those games, or just it didn't click with them, don't like it. So I added a modern mode. Um, and that is, use the analog stick, and it maintains your direction. So I just wanted to give people the option. I want people to be comfortable playing the way they want to play. And yeah, and then obviously the pixelation, some people don't like that, so that's also an option, and that just changes the render resolution. uh, and yeah, I just want to give people like, I want to let them change the things that aren't going to affect the game as a whole, but will help them enjoy it more. So I wanted to do as much of that as I could.
Sure. Sure. Um, how long do you think Heartworm will be, and how many levels is it going to be? Chapter based, or like how is it structured from beginning to end?
Yeah, right now it is it's chapter based.
Sure.
It's not it's I try to the game is like really hands off, so you kind of have to pick up on it yourself. It's not going to tell you as it happens, but um there are like 5 real chapters right now, and I expect the game to I expect 45 minutes per chapter on average.
Sure.
So somewhere between 3 to 5 hours, depending on how you play. Uh, but it's also really hard to say because I know where everything is, and I'm
Sure.
really bad at gauging how long it takes. So
Can we? I want to talk. Well, it's kind of funny. Is
Mhm.
is the cigarettes in the game for just? Is it health related, or is stress? Is there a stress mechanic in this game? What are some of the
um
mechanics that are in the game that you would like to talk about for Heartworm?
yeah so the cigarettes also kind of a secret, so
Sure,
I'll let
sure.
you figure out that one
Okay,
later. But mechanically, yeah, there are no guns in the game.
sure.
You're primarily, I mean, the game, it's really exploring, you're solving puzzles, and you're fighting enemies really only when you have to.
Okay.
Resources are limited. But the way that the character Sam does fight is by using her camera. And the
Kind of gives me
camera,
Fatal Frame vibes too, with the like Obscura like type of things.
totally. Yeah. It's funny because I've never played Fatal Frame.
Really?
Um,
Okay.
but a lot of people say it because of the camera, and it makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I played like 10 minutes of it, and I don't know, it didn't stick with me. But
Okay.
it's funny now because this game
Yeah.
uses the camera as a weapon, so I'll
Sure.
go back and play it eventually. But um, yeah. So that's all the main stuff, I think.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Um, I want to talk about the environment. As I see, there are different things. It kind of gives you like the out of body, out of worldness, like different dimensions, different area. Like, can you elaborate? Like, what's the premise of using different areas and how they play a factor in the game?
Yeah. So there's definitely a surreal theme to all of it. That's something I really wanted to lean into. Um, I, a lot of it, basically every area you're in, for the most part, is drawn from the memory of the main character. Um, so she is familiar with all of these areas, but we don't necessarily know how or why at the start, and
Mm-hmm.
we kind of learn as the game goes on, like how she's connected to all of these areas.
Sure, sure. So like fragmented memories in a way.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely, a lot of this is representative of her memories. So,
Okay. When it comes to like the enemies, so that's one thing I wanted to ask about, like the enemies. Like, does the enemies have a name, or what are the premises around them? What role do they play in Heartworm?
yeah. So right now, kind of each chapter has kind of unique enemy types, I'll say. This
Mm-hmm.
chapter, it's these static monsters. I don't have a name for them aside from that, but we call them that. And they're kind of like I mean, they play the role of like the common enemy, right? Um, they're kind of representative of Sam's memories because
You should call them fragments. The fragments.
they are
Oh.
we got this is yeah, see, you got to leave that up to people who play the game like you, because then then that's how that picks up. Then people are like, oh yeah, the fragments, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
because they play.
So all right,
If you use
from
that,
now
listen.
on, yeah, I'll put you in the credits just for that one. Maybe some other
Talk,
stuff too, but
talk to me nice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, so they're kind of like mirrors of Sam, and I think, like in any survival horror game, they're here to like impede your progress, and
Okay.
kind of just, yeah, make things a little bit more difficult while you're trying to explore these places.
How big is the maps or the chapters, like the area, surface area for the for each chapter? Like, how massive is the map, or what do you
So
plan it to be?
yeah, I mean, because it's like uh because I'm going for this like surreal element or theme, I'm not sticking to like what needs to be grounded in reality. So
Hmm.
some like houses are like bigger on the inside than they are on the outside, you know, or like there are more rooms than could possibly be, and or like, you know, the way that things are connected doesn't necessarily make sense. So the levels are pretty large, and I think I take a lot of inspiration from Silent Hill for that.
Hmm.
Um, just like the town, like that, all that exploration, I feel like really helps build the tension.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, the levels are quite large, I would say, for now.
Is it is there a day night cycle, or is it mainly at night?
No, everything is pretty set as it is. This chapter is mostly at night.
Okay.
But the next chapter it takes place in a forest, but
Sure.
it's not at night. It's during the day. It's actually like totally bright. Um, and I did that intentionally because I wanted to try and I feel like every forest in a horror game is dark. You know, it's like pitch
Hmm.
black out and you got a flashlight, whatever. So I wanted to try and make it scary during the day. And that's what the next chapter is. So every chapter kind of has its own unique identity.
Okay, okay. As far as the game development process, like, what are some of the highlights and lowlights that you guys experienced while making this game? And for some of the lowlights, how did you overcome the adversity that when you faced it?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, just making a game is really hard. Every aspect of it is harder than I thought it would be. Even when I thought it was going to be hard, it's harder than that. Like, um, so we've definitely struggled a little bit. There's a lot of growing pains, especially just like being a team for the first time,
Hmm.
working on our first game. Like, there's so many things that we have to learn. But I think the plus is that we do and have overcome a lot of the challenge. Like every challenge we've run into, we've found a way to overcome it, and that's I think I'm really proud of us for that, and I expect that to keep going. But yeah, I mean it really is game development is it's one challenge after another. It can be very difficult at times.
Sure. And what are some of the things that, like the pros, like what are some of the highlights that you guys encountered? Oh, you just, did you, or was it just like overcoming those problems that you guys have dealt with?
Yeah, I mean, you know that, and then yeah, like I think just like I I think being able to like see the vision come to fruition, like all this stuff that we've added in, all this new stuff, like, you know, upgrading old stuff, whatever, like that's um anytime like I can mark something as like this is final, we're not going to change this for the rest of the game, that feels really really good. Um and that happens a lot now that we're nearing the end of it. So, yeah.
What made you decide to go when you're like playing the game being a third person view, but when you aim, it becomes first person? Like, was it for what was the reasoning behind that?
I wanted to I kind of just wanted to try something different. I was thinking about you know, like Resident Evil 4 is one of I think like the biggest survival horror game. I mean, and you know, there's some controversy there on whether it is or not. I mean, I think it is, but
Hmm.
that kind of like paved the way by like putting that over the shoulder view in the game. And I think it's just a more natural way to have combat in a game like this. Um, but I was playing Metal Gear Solid 2, and that game is like it's basically a fixed camera game, but when you have the option to go into first person, and I always like thought that was really really cool. So I was like, I'll just try to do that with this, and you know, it's we kind of go over the shoulder, and because the environment's fully 3D, it kind of works out. It also
Hmm.
lets you like kind of look at like I know you're like fighting for your life right now. And I'm
I am by
like,
these fragments.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, I just nice. I thought it would be, yeah, I thought it would be an interesting, just a different kind of perspective to give the player.
No, I think that's pretty cool. So you mentioned that there's going to be some puzzles in the game. How much of the puzzles play a factor into the game, and how hard would some of these puzzles be?
So for anyone who played the old demo, I apologize because there was a super hard puzzle, and I think people really didn't like it. So I kind of learned from that, and I've toned down the difficulty of puzzles a little bit. But I'm trying to ramp up. It's like, I want to start out easy. The demo, honestly, this new demo, the puzzles are not difficult, I would say. I think they're pretty easy, but I toned them down specifically for the demo. Because the game, it's about the story, it's about exploration, and then like puzzle solving, and then combat, like in that order. So like the combat is probably my least like it's the least important aspect of the game to me.
Okay.
And puzzles are above that. So I'm trying to give puzzles a good amount of attention, and I think I've got some good ones. And they can get a little difficult, but I'm trying to really like make sure that they're not too difficult. But it's a hard balance to find. So
No, I totally get that. Um, I wanted to bring up something. So like, how did you said you made some of the music? How did you come up with some of the sounds of the game, and how does it impact in like creating fear and tension for some of the parts of the game in specific areas?
yeah, I you know I yeah making the music and the sound effects is it's hard to say exactly how I did it. I mean, I really just like I'll just open. I mean, and I've been doing this for years, but I'll just
Hmm.
open like my music software, and I'll just start with an idea and just like try to put something down, and then I'll save it, and then maybe I'll come back to it later. But I try to like save things and then like mark them with like feelings,
Hmm.
or like the emotion that like that the whatever like the sound that I was working on made me feel. So that's kind of what drives most of the music is like what emotion do I want the player to feel when they're hearing this music. Um, and that is how I decide like what level it goes into, or if I'm writing a song for a specific level. Um, yeah, then emotion is like the biggest driving factor there.
Quick
And then
question.
the enemies, yeah.
As far as this candle, am I able to light this candle with my lighter, or do I need something specific? Again, if you don't want to tell me, I can figure it out myself. But I will
For
be here
this,
for the next 10 minutes trying to figure out how to light this candle.
yeah. So you can't light it here,
Okay, that's all I
but
need to know. That's what
you
you.
you can light it somewhere else, and
I bet.
you can you'll
Will
get it.
you have secrets or Easter eggs in the game, and how are you? And if you are, how will you create some of these Easter eggs or secrets in this game?
Yeah, I definitely, I want to add them. It's like the plan right now is like get all the primary stuff in the game, what we call the golden path, like,
Sure.
start to finish. That needs to be done, locked up. And then after that, I have, ideas for Easter eggs, um, some secret stuff. I want to do costumes,
Hmm.
like unlockable
Have
costumes.
Magic the Gathering cards somewhere in the game.
Definitely throw some cards in.
Yeah.
No copyright infringement though. We'll call them something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want
Cards that do
yeah,
magic.
right. Car- Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. I think like people really like that stuff, so
yeah.
I want to put it in. And right now there is some like stuff you don't have to do. Some like side stuff, so that it's there. But yeah, it's not. It's definitely on my mind. Yeah.
I definitely got to give you kudos for what you have created now to what you had before. Like I enjoyed playing it for the first time when it was like the very first early stages, but what it
Yeah.
is now, like visually like amazing. The graphics have improved like a lot of things that I've noticed is just like I could tell like you guys have put multiple numerous hours into this. So I got to give you
Yeah.
kudos to you and your dev team. I really can't wait till this game comes out. And it's just like reminding me, oh my god, like from where I played it first to now, like I said, round of applause for
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah.
another thing. Well, speaking about people playing this and just like having opinions on that, like how does your audience or the community play a factor in decisions that you make for the games for this game?
Yeah. You know, it's I like I like these games, but now like I recognize there are people who like them way more than I do. I found out like
Mm-hmm.
online, you know, like people obsess over like the minutia and like all the like small stuff, like mechanically, whatever. And that's awesome. It's really cool to like know that people care about them that much.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to like make sure that I do consider like the hardcore fans thoughts on just like, you know, everything, but I also like, you know, I have a vision that I want to get out there,
Mm-hmm.
and so I try to find a compromise, you know. But I've talked to people, you know, I've gotten feedback from people who are really into this kind of stuff, and it's been super helpful. And I'm just gonna keep doing that, you know. It's just and just yeah, I think it really helps me find where that balance is. So.
Sure. What is your favorite part or what is your favorite thing in the demo that you created?
Um,
Or do you not want to reveal that because you want people to play?
no, no. I think so one cool thing about this demo, and there's a little spoiler, but it's fine. There is a boss fight in this demo. Um, and I am really really happy with how the boss fight came out. I think it like the cutscene is sick. I think the fight itself is sick. The arena that the fight takes place in is awesome. I'm really happy with the the music that I came up with for the fight. So yeah, I think the boss fight is an awesome addition, and I hope people agree with me when they play it.
Yeah, I know. How long did it take to create like different enemies, or will they be different enemies, or is it just the static people?
Yeah,
Or
no, there are different enemies for sure. Every chapter basically has new enemies. Um, so and then all the bosses are different enemies as well. And it's hard. Like, you know, I think other games have a bit more variety maybe when it comes to enemies. But it really is I, what I'm trying to do is make the enemies that we have interesting and memorable, and not just like make new enemies for the sake of making new enemies.
mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, so there will be new ones in the other chapters, and it's time consuming. Boss fights are hard. We spent a lot of time on our boss fights. We're almost done with all of them. There are
Nice. Okay.
I think there are like three and a half ish boss fights in the game. And yeah, they're all almost done, but it took a long time, and we learned a lot about we basically the one that's in this demo we redid almost entirely because we just weren't happy with how it was the first time, and but for good, it's good because now it's much better now in my opinion. So
I just want to throw something else out to like the fact that you can switch from third person to first person. It helps you see like for me like when I can't tell where I'm going or like I'm a little stuck in a specific part.
yeah,
Just being able to see like okay for a second okay now I can see what's in front of me and just fix myself in it.
yeah,
That's an awesome feature. Um, I definitely could see that this game has a lot of creepy vibes, and I definitely got the hints of like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, Fatal Frame, and in your own vision.
mhm.
Um, so you said this game is going to unveil. When is your target date or like a target quarter again?
For the full game to come out,
Yes, sir.
it's yeah, we're targeting quarter one of 2025.
Okay. Do you have a price of what the game might cost, or is that something you guys are trying to figure out in the future? You don't have to say if you don't want to.
Yeah. No, we don't we don't know right now. Um, we have to figure that out
Sure.
basically. That's the it's on our list. Yeah.
Sure, sure. When the game fully comes out, is there a plan to continue developing more for Heartworm, or is this just like a standalone game? Well, like, what I mean that by that is like, will there be DLC? Will there be updates? Are you guys gonna? Will it be a continuation after launch?
Yeah. Right now, I mean, I like super focused on just like the game itself, but we do have ideas for DLC. It kind of depends on how well the game does, I would say,
Sure.
if that is going to end up happening. Um, but I, 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 we have talked about it a bit. So it's if the game does super well, the DLC will be there.
Sure, I'm totally understandable. Um, when it comes to, I forgot. Damn, I had a great question. I forgot it. Oh, actually, no, I remembered it.
You're multitasking. It's
Yeah, no, it's so, ladies and gentlemen, it's not easy to play a game and have a conversation and remember what he's saying. Like, it's a crazy balance. But
yeah.
from where you are now to when you first started, if you can give yourself any advice, what advice would you give yourself when starting a just being a game developer?
Um.
It's a two-parter question.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm still learning so much as it
Sure.
is.
But like, if you would you like, what's one thing that you would tell yourself, like 3 years ago, but like, hey, make sure you do this, or like, hey, heads up.
I would say, like, what I want to say is you should try and plan more, like plan ahead what you're gonna do before you
Sure.
just do it.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, I think some of the best stuff in the game has been the result of me just like coming up with something on the spot. Like,
Okay.
so I don't know. Yeah, I guess like try and plan as much as you can. I
Like,
think I
trust your
wasn't very
gut.
organized,
Yeah.
but also trust your gut. Exactly.
I
Yeah.
get that. I get that. Is there any advice you would give new gaming developers or anybody who wants to be in a gaming developing space?
Yeah. I mean, I think like make something you want to make. Don't
Mm-hmm.
make something because you think it's gonna make money, or whatever. Like because honestly, the chances are like in a lot of cases, games it might not make money. Like
Mm.
so, I think like you really have to just want to do what you're doing. It's a really long and like grueling process to make a game, and you have to love it. So like you have to really be in love with your concept, and yeah. So I think that's important.
Do you think that when you're creating a horror game desensitize you at all of your own game or other horror games in general?
Um, Definitely my game. Like I have a hard time like being objective when it comes to like just thinking about my game now. But other horror games, I mean, they still kind of get me sometimes.
Sure.
I haven't played a lot lately, but what did I play? I played Still Wakes the Deep, and that got me
Ah,
a couple times. I really liked that though. That was like great atmosphere. Um, that was an awesome game. But yeah, so other horror games still scare me. Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I
not so
found
much.
this house key and I know I went to the right door that said needed a house key and I forgot which house it was.
You did. All right, I'll give you a hint. It's the one you were just at it.
I like just previously one the with the red
Yeah.
light.
The red light. Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it in the back or the front?
It's in the front. You missed something in the house. That's my hint to you.
Oh, so I already used the house key
You
somehow.
did. You unlocked it. Yep.
I don't remember doing that. Hence why this is a live podcast. It's very hard to have a conversation and play a game at the same time. But Vinny, I got one or two more questions for you. Like actually, technically I have one question, but it could be a two-parter. Um, from all the experiences from doing this game, like actually no, I'm not gonna ask that. I'm gonna ask like knowing that this game is coming out, knowing that you have put so much time in your team, everything like that. Um, will you be happy with the final product? It's kind of a hypothetical. Would you release a game that you're 100% happy with, or would you release it knowing that it's almost perfect, but it can use updates that will get it to the top, knowing that you're shooting for 2025?
I mean, I think, I've had to make a lot of compromises. I think
Sure.
we've all, like, everyone on my team has had to make compromises, and that does suck, but I think that's, like, ultimately part of it's just, like, I have to assume it happens to everyone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not every time you try to implement an idea or, like, whatever, mechanic, whatever, it doesn't always work out. And but like knowing that that's just part of the process, I will be happy when I'm done with the game. It might not be what I initially envisioned, but it will be something that I am proud of. So,
Okay, okay. And my final question that I have for you. Also, by the way, the game, like, before I even ask this, I just want, like, again, I have to tell you, I'm so proud of you as being your closest a close friend to you, and from the ups and downs that I've seen you make from making this game, you have truly outdone yourself, my friend. Like, I am so proud of you. You are an amazing game developer, and you have a great team. And I really am honored to have you be a part of Whispers of Horror. Like, you don't have no idea how long I've been trying to get you on this podcast. The fact you did another podcast before me is kind of like, I got to throw that out there. Come on, bro. I know you're just putting it out there. Just saying. But no, honestly, the world works in mysterious ways, and I'm just honored for your time and your presence, man. For real, like, I know you're a busy man, and the fact that you gave me your time is just like, I'm grateful for. And like I said, I'm very excited to play this game. This game will be out in the first quarter of 2025, ladies and gentlemen. The links of the game will be in all descriptions on all the platforms we are live in. And my final question for you, Vinny, um, is there anything you want to tell the audience about your game, about yourself, or about anything you want to bring up at this
um,
moment? The floor is yours.
well, first of all, thank you so much, Avery. Thank you for having me. And yeah, it was awesome to watch you play. And even though you didn't get to the boss fight, it's okay. I'll let it slide. We were doing a
I didn't.
lot.
I thought I kind of knew how to get there, but I kind of wanted to leave it for people to do it
That's
themselves
fair.
for the demo. Like,
Understandable.
that's the only reason I didn't do it. I didn't want to tell you because, like, no, but for, like, ladies and gentlemen, I have played the demo before, so I kind of remember how to do it. But I was kind of going around because, again, I want to leave that for people to experience themselves. So
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. But yeah. So the only thing I guess I have to say is, yeah, if you're interested, in the game, if you could wishlist it, that would really help. That I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but like that it's literally the best thing you can do for any indie game that you want to support is to wishlist it. Um, if you want to see updates, you can follow me on Twitter. And if you want to check out this new demo, it's going to be in Steam Next Fest on the 14th, Monday, I think. So yeah, you can check it out yourself then. And yeah, that's all I have to say. And
yeah,
thank you again, Avery, so much.
of course. And again, I'm just gonna reiterate. The links to the game is in the description of all the platforms we're live in. Yeah, go test out the demo when it is released on Next Fest, which is the 14th of October. And plus, we're in October, which means it's month. What are you doing
Hmm.
with yourself? If you guys like Silent Hill, if you guys like Resident Evil, Fatal Frame, actually scratch that. If you guys want to experience something brand new that is different in its own way, come check out Heartworm. It is an amazing experience and developed by an amazing game developer. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Avery, but I go by Soavecito, and I'm a horror content creator. Have a good night. End of Whispers of Horror.